Hello, hello, and welcome to Hygiene Elevated Conversations and Innovations. Today we have the one and only Miss Olivia, and she is our special guest today. And Olivia, we got to meet you at RDH Under One Roof Evolution last year. And I think we all immediately hit it off. We were all kindred spirits. And so we've been looking forward to having you on the podcast for quite some time. And we follow you on social media, and you are probably one of my favorite people to follow. And I honestly say that content-wise, your content is so practical with everything that you say and the advice that you give. I love the type of content that you put out there. So
thank you so much.
Yes. So I want to kind of step back for a second and tell us your story. Tell us your journey to becoming a dental hygienist. You love city life, all of those things. So tell us your story.
Absolutely. Like you said, yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you all last year at the conference. And it's been such a nice culmination in my career now that it's been 16 years as a dental hygienist and 18 years in the dental industry. Yay! It's really nice branching out and growing and trying different things. But I've known since middle school that I wanted to be a hygienist. I have 3 sisters, and anytime we went to the dentist, it was a big event. My father used to be the painter of this dental office, so the staff was always super nice and excited when we came. And the hygienist would always have me help her do periodontal and intraoral photos. So it just felt so special. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this when I grow up. But as I developed more of an interest in biology and sciences, I just knew it would be a good fit for me. I love people. And then I found out, oh, you can have a great schedule. You can get paid really well. So it was a done deal for me since I was like 12. I'm going to be a dental hygienist. So when I was in high school, I did one of those programs that kind of introduces you to health careers. Mm-hmm. And so in my senior year, I got credits for working in a dental office. So I worked in an ortho office, like having the kids brush their teeth before their adjustments. And that was really fun. And I was finished with hygiene school by the time I was 20. It's been a good time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was the youngest in my class, but I was 24 for crying out loud. So holy moly, 20 years old.
Guess what, you guys? The youngest in my class was 18 years old.
What?
When we graduated, I think she was 19, maybe.
It's amazing.
That's overachieving. I wasn't ready for life at 24. So much less 20. Goodness gracious.
I remember being really concerned if I would be able to have a drink at graduation.
I remember the night before starting hygiene school, I think it like really hit. I was super nervous and I was just like, 2.5 years from now, I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And like it hit me so hard. Like I was scared about that for whatever reason. I feel like you should be the opposite of scared when you're like, okay, I've got some stability. But it scared me of like, well, I guess I've like set my path now. So here we go. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it worked out and here we are.
Look at you now.
Right. So you're doing different things.
Yeah.
So you've kind of been doing some interesting things. You've been in dentistry 18 years and practicing hygienist 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Same as me.
Oh.
So have you been practicing clinical this whole time, or where are you at in your career?
Up until last month, I was in my operatory, but just 1 month ago exactly, I hung up my loops for a little bit. So I'm working as the clinical manager for a private practice in Brooklyn, New York, overseeing the clinical team. But I'm sure I'll be back in the operatory at some point because I definitely love it.
So this is like such a unique thing that you're in. Like, I think there's a lot of hygienists that they're in the op and they feel stuck. Like there's a lot of hygienists that absolutely love clinic. I love clinic. And I think for a lot of hygienists, they're just like, how do I get out of this? Or how can I do something more? You were in a very unique office. Like when you were describing your office, I've never heard anything like this before. So tell our listeners kind of a little bit more about the office that you are in and how that opportunity kind of presented itself, but how you presented the opportunity to your employers, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely been a gradual process. By the time I started working in this office, I already had about 8 years under my belt. And I had worked in many different offices. Some were okay and some I didn't love. But I had the experience of working in a perio practice. I was very comfortable working with perio patients and having a perio protocol. And I had also had the opportunity to work in offices with consultants. So I had a lot of opportunity to be coached on how to communicate with patients and getting more comfortable with metrics and numbers and things like that. So by the time I interviewed for this position, the office was kind of in a place where their hygiene department wasn't really producing well, but they didn't know what to do. And so they brought me on to try to help them make their hygiene department more productive. But initially I was hired on as a co-hygienist, and we tried things out that way. But throughout time, we recognized that in order to really affect change, I would need a leadership position. So I transitioned to the hygiene team leader, which meant I would conduct hygiene meetings on a monthly basis, review numbers. We would go over different products and services that we could offer and use. I would arrange for CE for the team. And I did that for about 5 years, and we just kind of gradually built up what we were doing. I'm very big on only offering patients things that they need and not forcing things just for money. And so we've kind of organically let it grow just as we've learned throughout the years. And then in the past couple of years, I've transitioned that position to managing both the whole clinical team, so the dental associates as well as the dental assistants. So that role encompasses more like OSHA training, making sure everybody's licenses are up to date, that we have the CE that we need, tracking metrics, going over different products and services that we could use for the office. And it's just kind of gradually built throughout time. But what I just started doing was just saying to the doc, hey, I noticed this needs to be done. Do you want me to do it? And then as that grew over the years, it became its own position rather than just something I would do in between patients.
I feel like I am not you, and I desire to be you so much, Olivia. Like just seeing those needs and speaking up and not just saying, who's going to take charge of this? Like when you see something, you say something. And it's not in a derogatory way or like a, hey, we're failing here. You find the problem and you find the solution to it. And I would imagine your boss was like, thank you. Yes, I also see that. So
absolutely. It's a weight off of her shoulders because she ultimately wants to be focused on patient care. And so a lot of those HR tasks, performance reviews, interviews, terminations, nobody really wants to do that. So if she can focus on the fun stuff and I can do some of the hard stuff, she's a happy camper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Olivia, I have to say, I just love how you know, just kind of like Amanda was saying, though, like you saw something that needed to be done and then just jumped in and said, hey, can I do this for you guys? Which is great, that positivity or that just the whole mindset in general. I think for me, sometimes when I recognize a problem, at first it feels very frustrating, like annoyed, like I can't help but like want to pick the like hyper focus on it and be upset first. Like it would have to take me like a few days before I was like, oh, okay, the best approach is going to be to, if I just offer to kindly do it. But it would take me like a moment to actually get there. Did it take you a moment to get there, Olivia, or were you just sweet from the first second?
I imagine it's sweet from the get-go. We all know.
I wish I could say that, but unfortunately, it took me far too long to get to that point. But I think something that helped is having a boss, an owner who is a human, who treats me like a human, is respectful, is kind, is open. So it makes it easy to approach her and have those kind of discussions. She doesn't run her office like a dictator. So it makes it comfortable to have those conversations. But unfortunately, in the beginning of my career, I did experience some things that were less than ideal. And I used to have the mentality that, okay, this is not right. I guess I've got to find a new job. But I grew in my professional development and my communication and recognized I don't have to just flee. I can just help. And it's been working out really well.
That's a huge point, because I definitely was there with a lot of offices. And I can't say I was mature enough at all, like you were, to kind of constructively say, hey, I'm seeing this problem. I'm recognizing this problem. This is what I would offer as a solution. I would just say, okay, I guess it's time to jump ship. Like, it's not going to go my way. So what would your advice be to a hygienist clinically that's kind of in that situation? How could you help that hygienist feel empowered to make a suggestion if maybe they're uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think the baseline starts with having good communication when times are good. So if you already have this good communication and this good relationship, then it's easier when times are hard. I often see hygienists or a dental assistant, front desk, quietly keeping things to themselves or just feeling like they have to accept whatever is around. But I think that practice managers, dentists love to see personality, love to see initiative, love to see that people are passionate. So I would say just try speaking up when things are good. Maybe if you have morning huddle, you can commend a coworker or a dentist on something that worked really well yesterday. Or you can say, hey, thank you so much for having my back with that patient. Thank you so much for buying this technology. It's been really helpful. So that by the time you go to them, I've got this issue, they already see you're somebody who cares, you're a positive person, and they'll be more willing to listen, I think.
I think that's very powerful. Keeping that line of communication, like positive communication, open at all times. That way, when it's time to make a suggestion or have a hard conversation, it's not like, oh, who are you again? Like, we don't have that established rapport per se. I think Absolutely. That's excellent advice, Olivia.
Thank you. And I would add to it a little bit. I would also say that when you do have a suggestion, don't mention it when you're upset or in the moment. Take some time to think about it at home. Schedule a meeting and say, hey, I would love to talk to you about this. When do you have time to talk? Because when people are caught off guard, it can make them uncomfortable. But if they have a moment to collect themselves and be prepared for a conversation, it will more than likely go better.
Yeah, that's very solid. I think, so we got to have a podcast with the DSO hygienist, and we were talking and kind of the position that you are in with your office, because you guys are not part of a DSO. This is a private practice. Thank you. Hello. Like, I didn't work for one for 18 years. Anyway, a private practice, like you were saying, you're doing a lot of the HR stuff that the DSO side of things will come in and do. So that's a very unique opportunity that a hygienist would get to come in and do, like an HR role, a clinical supervisor role. Like, I would venture a bet that you're probably the only hygienist, or very few amount of you in the country, that have this type of an opportunity to be an administrator, but have such a strong clinical hand and decision in things.
And I hope that there will be many more to come, because hygienists are in a great position to do a great job because they know what it's like to be on the clinical floor. It can be so frustrating for a clinician to have somebody come tell them, oh, you need to do this when you're with your patients, but they can be out of touch with what it's really like to be with the patient or your time flow. But when you have somebody who's working side by side with you, they know exactly what it's like to be with the patients. They know when the technology is falling apart, when you need more instruments or not. It's a much more informed decision. And you know what's a reasonable ask and what's not a reasonable ask for your team. So I think it's great. And then as hygienists, you know, we have such strong communication skills. We know how our patients are feeling. We know how to explain things clearly, and that can translate really well to working with the team.
And you had mentioned, I mean, you obviously had worked clinically for your office for a number of years. So you're a familiar face to your patients. So when you're doing some remote work that involves patient interaction, it's not just like this random person online. You're like, oh yeah, I remember Olivia. Oh yeah, I remember her, you know, in my face cleaning my teeth. So I feel like
they're only surprised to see me with my mask off. They're like, I didn't know you look like
oh, your hair's down. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But as far as transitioning to that role, the HR company that we use is called Inspirity, and they have a bunch of free on-demand courses that any employee can take. So I took a lot of courses with them with leadership, HR management. So I didn't just jump into the role with no preparation. And I think that makes a huge difference because there's a lot that goes into being a leader. There's a lot that goes into HR. There's so many things that you have to be careful not to say or to say, how to be fair, how to document things. So I definitely encourage people to continue learning. It doesn't have to be that you have to get these advanced degrees, but being open to learn and develop yourself can make a huge difference.
Powerful advice. No matter if it's clinical or looking to, I think especially if a hygienist is looking to, you know, transition out of a clinical role, yeah, the more you know, especially in HR, who knows where those doors are going to open. So
yeah, definitely.
And you know, I love that. You're like, study the free stuff. You don't have to take like a course. You don't have to have a certificate. There's so many free resources.
No MBAs.
But yeah, for the hygienists that are looking to grow their careers outside the operatory, those strong communication skills are vital.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of platforms have those free courses now, and some of them would be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So maybe if my patient canceled, I'm stocking my room, I'm just playing the video in the background about how to do a performance review or different things like that. So it doesn't have to be this huge monumental investment of your time or energy to continue learning and growing.
Yeah. Passive learning, right? Like that's semi-passive learning, but yeah. So what are some other projects that you're kind of working on in your career? Because you are not a linear, you are like a multi-dimensional person. So what else?
I'm just trying to be like you guys when I grow up. That's my goals. One thing that is really close to my heart, so many dental professionals that I speak to are really not happy with their work environment. They feel like dental offices can be toxic or don't encourage their growth. And so my goal is to really help other dental offices develop cultures that help dental professionals thrive. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to cost money to be a good boss. Most people want recognition and appreciation, and that can be free. So my goal is to help other dental managers or dentists accomplish that. And I also want to help other dental professionals learn how to speak up and communicate and advocate for change within their office. So throughout different means, through social media, through written articles and things like that, it's my goal to help people.
Where all are you being published right now with your articles outside of just social media?
The only one at this moment has been through RDH Mag, but more to come in the future. More to come in the future. But definitely, I want to help people just be more confident, have these conversations, make them easier, because it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. And I think dentists and hygienists especially can work better together, have more harmony and more appreciation for one another. So I'm trying to help in that way.
Yeah. It's definitely something that we're not taught in school. And if you're a timid person such as myself, you're just like, I guess this is just how it is, and either like learn to figure it out at work or like jump ship. So if you're at a good office that you like for the most part, but you want to see change, I think being able to speak up and be a part of those changes is really powerful. So thanks for being that voice for us timid hygienists, Olivia.
Yeah, thank you for putting all that great content out there. I think the subject matter is so needed. You are bringing so much value to the dental hygiene community, and you're elevating the profession one article at a time, Olivia. And this topic of, advocating for yourself, feeling empowered to make changes, that's something I touch on so briefly in the school presentations for the hygiene students. And I almost feel like I need more time to talk about it. I mean, I touch on it so briefly and I'm trying to get so much in, but it is definitely a subject matter that you can just keep going into. Like, it doesn't stop.
Absolutely. And even in continuing education conferences, the majority of the time, you're going to pick something very science oriented. You're going to go for perio or oral cancer screening or saliva testing. And those things are awesome and needed. But our opportunities for professional development and communication and professional growth, those you have to work a little harder to seek out. And so I'm trying to make it more accessible, more easy for people to keep growing.
I like that a lot. Someone asked me, Olivia, like, Joffrey, are you ever going to start speaking and doing like speaking engagements at the large conferences? And I'm like, well, I would love to. Like, that's like would be a dream. I just idolize the hygienists that are doing these presentations for us. And I'm like, well, I just don't know if I have like my solid niche, because all these classes are so science-based, right? And I'm like, the science element's not my favorite element. But I feel like hearing you talk right now, I'm like, I'm totally overshadowing the powerful message that we want to get out. Like, even if it's not science-based, it's still very important. And so there is room for us on that stage, even if it's not science-based.
Absolutely. I can't wait to be in one of your classes, Joffrey.
One day it'll happen. One day.
Do you have a goal in mind, a specific date or year? No pressure, just a question.
No, you know what, Olivia? I think I have just exceeded my own expectations already at this point. And so there is no end date. There is no day, but I just never say no to anything. And Amanda can verify that. I will say yes to any opportunity. And doing that has brought so many cool opportunities into my life. And so, nope, I don't have an end goal, but I am just...
We're here for it.
Not stopping.
We're here for it.
Well, you let me know when you're on the stage. I'm coming.
You got it. I'm reading all of your articles, Olivia.
There will be a post, I'm sure. There will be something notifying everybody. So.
I'm sure.
So, okay. So kind of stepping back a little bit, what was some of the hardest things that you kind of went through when you were transitioning your career? You were permanently, you were working clinical, you took this leadership role, but you were still in clinic. I think you said that you had to take some time away from clinic to do admin stuff. So you kind of worked a little bit that way with your schedule, but now you are fully remote. How did that transition look for you? How did you kind of mentally detach from clinic and emotionally detach from clinic?
Yeah, that is a good question, and it's a hard thing. So initially, I would it started with like 1 hour a week. On Mondays, I would block out one patient appointment, and that would be my time to like order products and do whatever I was doing. And then as it grew, I said, hey, doc, I need more time. I need more time. So for a long time, I was half a day, and then 2.5 days I was in clinic. And then as the role grew, I really needed more time. One thing that takes a lot of my time is having Zoom calls with patients now that we offer salivary testing. And so once that was implemented, I just really needed more time to be with the patients. So that helped a lot because I'm not abandoning my patients. I still get to have a relationship with them. I still get to see their progress as I go through their charts. I still get to do oral hygiene instruction and nutritional counseling with them because we're doing those Zoom calls. So that was like one of the big catalysts that I needed more administrative time. The hardest part was when I was scheduling my perio maintenance patient's next appointment, and I realized I wouldn't be there to do it, and say, oh, who should I put them with? You know, some of them I've been with them 8 years, 4 times a year, you know, so you get really attached. But what I would try to do is introduce them to the hygienist I wanted to transition them to. So I would bring that hygienist in the room, tell them why I wanted them to work with that hygienist. We have a lot of skilled hygienists, and they all have different strengths. So I would try to match their personality or what was important to the patient with that hygienist. So that helped knowing that they would be in great hands. And so now I'm just learning the structure of working from home, you know, how to block out my calendar and have time in between Zoom calls. So I have time for lunch or to use the restroom. And, you know, trying to even be focused on ergonomics at home and not laying on the couch.
Having an actual setup, not, some of those weird positions. I think you did a post about that. Some of the weird yoga you were not doing. Laptop positions.
Yes, but it's been helpful. And it's a learning process, just like everything else, just like any hygienist when they first get in the app, it takes them a little while to get in their swing and their flow and their confidence. It's the same thing with remote work. But I'm really thankful for the opportunity and the freedom that it provides.
Yeah, that's so unique.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay if we segue and talk about salivary testing for a second?
Sure.
Okay, Joffrey and I were
wanted to do the same. I'm like, we have to go there.
Okay. We were driving into St. George and we started talking about salivary testing. And my first practice that I worked at 16 years ago, we had started salivary testing, but I don't think we implemented it very well. So tell us a little bit about how you guys implement it as a practice, how you incorporate it, pre-test, post-test, and what is the cost that's associated with it?
Yeah. So, and even I don't think we're using it to its fullest potential at the moment. But what we're doing is now, if somebody returns at their first perio maintenance patient appointment after scaling, and there's still inflammation, saliva test. If somebody has something, they're perplexed, they don't understand why their breath stinks, they do this, salivary test. And then anything where you feel like we're kind of scratching our heads a little bit, where we can't quite get the results that we've been after, the patient's working hard on their home care, we do salivary testing. So in that case, if they have not done a pre-procedural rinse, they haven't just eaten and drank, we can do the saliva test right there. Oftentimes, one of those things have happened, and so we can either send the saliva test home with the patient and have them send it in. If they seem like a responsible patient, we'll let them do that. Or we can schedule them to come back in 2 weeks, do the saliva test, and send it off. I'll be honest, the people that we've sent home with the test, a lot of times when they come back for their next appointment, they're like, oh, I forgot to do it. So I think having them do it in the office is great. And then we get the results back a couple weeks later. I just send them a message through Weave, is the communication software that we use, and have them schedule with me, and then we do a Zoom, and then whatever the recommendations are, I just put a note in the chart for the hygienist so that when the patient comes in, they know, okay, this is the tool that's going to be most effective for this patient, and so they know what to go ahead and use right away. So the tests that we do, we charge $150 for it. And then very often, because they need further things, maybe they need lasers or probiotics or arrestin or things like that, it does generate more production as well, because now the patient understands the science behind why they need that thing.
Yeah. So what would you, because you kind of said that you didn't think you guys were using it to its full potential. What would you like to see it implemented to be as successful as possible?
In a dream world, every new patient, I would rather send it to their house even before they came in for their appointment, so that when they came in for their first appointment, the results were there and we knew what to do straight away. That's a dream world.
Yeah, almost like a really complete health history, right? Like your oral health history. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I would love to do that, and I would love to do it on an annual basis. I think a lot of patients would love it. Most patients are really excited when they hear about the option. They've never heard of anything like that, and they want to get down to the bottom of it because they're tired of hearing, you need to floss more, when they already do, you know? So most patients have been really, really receptive and appreciative.
So, Olivia, let's talk about the results from the salivary test. So, how many different categories of results would you say there are that would kind of funnel to a specific treatment option?
That is a tricky question because every patient is so unique, right? So you may have two patients that have the same test result, but one patient is elderly with limited dexterity and is only going to do so many things. And the next patient could have the exact same test results and be extremely health focused and has the dexterity and the health and the energy to follow a protocol that you give them. So it's so highly individualized. It's really hard to answer that question. But I do have like a system that I use, and I think every salivary test company has a pro about them. But I really appreciate about Direct Diagnostics. They have some pretty clear guidance on what to do once you get your tests back. That is kind of like a baseline that I use. And then based on the interview I do with the patient, talking to them about what they're already doing, that helps me edit what we're going to do.
That's so cool.
I'm jealous, actually. Looking back, Olivia, like, do you feel like salivary testing is a part of you now as a provider? Like, if you were to leave, if they didn't have salivary testing or wouldn't implement it, it'd be a deal breaker at this point?
Like it's your standard of care?
I think so. And I almost am kind of kicking myself because when I started working at the period practice I worked at, that's probably 12 years ago now, he gave it to me. He's like, oh, you can do the saliva test if you want. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He's like, I don't know. And so because he didn't really give me any information, I never did anything with it. And so I'm like, man, I wish I had really pursued it back then, because I could have had a better standard of care all these years. But what you don't know, you don't know. And now I know, and I'm sure it's going to continue to grow and get better the more data that they have, even with doing saliva testing. But it's really meaningful for patients to get down to the root cause of why they're having the symptoms that they have.
I feel that way about the laser. Like it's just my standard of care now. Like my laser, it's an old laser, but it decided not to work a couple weeks ago, and I had an SRP scheduled, and I was like, but what do I do? Like obviously we're a patient, but I was just like, I don't feel like I've done a good job here. Like I haven't killed everything. So I mean, I irrigated with some chlorhexidine to make myself feel better, but fortunately the laser turned back on the next day. But I was so disappointed. I feel like that is how having a tool like that where you can see it and you can better explain and you have just better patient education just feels like a part of your standard of care.
Yeah.
I wish I could have all the tools. I want one of those microscopes too, where you can like take the plaque and put it under a microscope and put it on the screen so the patient can see like the spider and everything in there. And be like, yeah, that's you little kid. Brush your teeth.
Kids come crying out of the operatory.
Like that's gonna
keep Amanda out of peds. No.
I do love kids, don't get me wrong. I just disclose most of them. I'm like, do you see what this is? Like, yeah. Your teeth are pink right now.
Yeah. And it kind of gets like that. I feel like a lot of things that you use, once you start using it, you get used to it. But recently we got the GBT EMS machine in our practice, and we only got it going like a week before I left. And once I had my own teeth cleaned with it, I was like, wow, you can feel the difference. So I'm really looking forward to the day that machine is more accessible when it comes to cost, and it can be the standard of care everywhere because the cleaning is so good. So yeah, once you get exposed to good stuff, it's hard to go back.
Yes.
I know. That's just me totally. Like if I have something and I love it, now it's standard. Now I have to. The bar's been raised, it can't go down. Like I have to have it. I love the laser. I love having advanced oral cancer screening tools in the office. I recently got the BOLA, the microphone that reads all the probe depths. Now I'm in love with that. Like if I get my hands on something nice, I will instantly fall in love.
It's kind of like even hair care or skin care. Once you've got like some good conditioner, I'm not going back to VO5. I grew up on it, but never again. I'll clean my toilets with that before it touches my hair.
You're so bougie.
I love it.
I haven't heard VO5 in like 10 years. What is happening in New York right now? VO5.
I love it.
Well, can you clean toilets with shampoo? Like conversation. Interest doing like
I don't know where that
leftover VO5.
Oh, I grew up on that stuff. We used to swim almost every day in the summer, so I had all the flavors, strawberry and everything.
I distinctly remember a green one because it matched my grandma's 1950s green bath, like avocado green bathroom. So put together.
Sure needed.
Matches your bathroom. Huh.
My grandmother's bathroom was very decorated too, like overly decorated. Beautiful towels you weren't supposed to touch. I remember too, she even made like coffee cans like stacked together and then wrapped it around with something and stored the toilet paper in there. Like she had a very beautiful paper storage.
Okay. My grandma had this big glass jar with like mini decorative soaps in it that you could never use, like shaped like seashells and stuff like that.
And the little bath oil things. Use like those for special baths.
Grandmothers are so crazy.
Yeah, 30 or 40 years from now, they're going to be talking about us with our like shampoo bars. And it's like, oh, she used the weirdest stuff. She didn't even have lights in her bathroom. Like, I don't know. I was going to be. They had to flush their toilets. It didn't just automatically flush or something. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh, man.
Okay.
All right, Olivia, let's see here. Let's bounce ahead here. Let's talk about balance. How are you doing balancing your personal life with your professional life, working remote? Like, how is that transition playing out for you?
I'm thriving, guys. I am having
everything.
I am having an amazing time. I can't even lie to you. So the way I'm structuring my day is that I have my mornings off. So my mornings are really slow. I have my time for reading, for working out, for taking my time with my coffee. And that just like makes such a difference to me. So I'm just open my calendar for the patients or staff to book with me in the afternoon. And so it's really powerful for me to have like a slower pace. And I really like it. I'm super happy.
That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We talked with somebody else that was working remote, and she was just like, I work all the time. And kind of the same thing, like I have to schedule bathroom breaks. I have to schedule this, that, and the other. And just a lot of working, which I mean, maybe the pay is different and the expectation of the job is different, but being able to structure your day when you're working remote, because it sounds so nice, right? Like, oh, I'm at home, but there's so many distractions at home. I say that to myself of like, oh yeah, I needed to do that. Oh yeah, I needed to do that. But having that structure in your day and being able to, I don't want to say dictate, but order it, make you such a better administrator, knowing when you're doing what task. So
yeah, it's really nice. And I think everything can be what you make it. I feel like unlimited work to do. So I could always be working. And the staff texts me all the time. So it may be a time where, I'm out and about, I'm going to brunch and they're sending me, hey, I'm sick, I'm not coming in, and I have to schedule a temp or something. But I don't mind because I love my mornings and I can do so much from my phone. It's so nice that like with Weave, I'm able to have that on my phone so I can send patients messages. I can just request a temp through the app, things like that. So it's not perfect in that I don't clock out at a certain time and nobody contacts me. That's maybe one of the drawbacks, but being able to be in charge of my time and turn off my calendar when I don't want to book a call or things like that has been really, really nice. And I'm really enjoying not having to get up and rush in the mornings.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amanda, what would you do if you had the morning off?
Okay, I'm a sleeper, so I would sleep until the last possible moment. I'm a slacker. Yeah, if my husband was not home, I would probably sleep until like, I have to take a call at 10. I'll get up at 9:45. I don't have kids, so I would be the laziest person, I think. I would struggle. What about you, Joffrey?
Oh my gosh, I would do morning jujitsu classes. So then I don't have to do them in the evening time. I would just like do jujitsu, work, and then be around with the family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because right now jujitsu is in the evening time. So it's like right around dinner time. But that's what I would do. I would go get beat up real quick and then go to work.
That's why you're so tough. How often do you do that?
So it varies with my schedule, but my goal is 3 times a week. Sometimes I get 1, sometimes I get 2. But I love it. Jiu-jitsu has brought a better version of myself out that I didn't know was in there. Like I am a lot more calm, cool, collected than I think before. So I love it so much.
Wow. It's nice when you find your thing, you know?
It is. My son, though, he is a lot better at jiu-jitsu than me. So he loves to talk crap. He's like, you suck.
Also like a quarter of your age. So, I mean, bends and flexes in completely different ways.
We're definitely a jiu-jitsu household, though. Like, he'll definitely just run up and grab my arm and, like, put me in weird positions.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I definitely don't know even what question we're close to because we've just flowed through our conversation. So as a hygienist, you are contributing to just kind of helping to empower hygienists with being able to advocate for themselves. Are there other avenues or things that you would like to contribute to our profession as dental hygienists with your platform?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to limit myself because there's so much that we can all do. I'm really inspired by so many other people who are taking the lead in the hygiene profession. And I love to see people helping with instrumentation techniques or understanding the systemic link more. I love to see all of those things. So I don't want to limit myself and think that this is the only thing that I will do. But I can say that this is what I'm most passionate about because of my professional experience. So we'll see what happens throughout time. If you asked me last year when we met at the hygiene conference, I told you I didn't want to be on social media, and here I am. So.
Killing it. You're killing it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you've done missions trips as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about all of your experiences, what countries, what organizations, all the things.
Sure. I volunteered with 1,000 Smiles, and I've gone with them 3 times. Twice we went to St. Lucia, once in a fishing village, once in the city center, and the last one we went on was in Jamaica in the South Coast. A lot of the staff that works in my office has Caribbean roots, myself included. So it feels really special going to treat, like family members or cousins or friends and things like that. It's really nice. We've developed a relationship with that organization because I think our office has gone 5 times with them. So they do know us, so it's become comfortable. What's great about going with that organization is you get to stay at Sandals Resort, so it's really nice. Yeah, after sweating it out at clinic, run back to the pool or to the beach, so that's really nice. I think definitely, though, there's good and bad to mission trips, and so I think the last time I was there, I looked at it through different eyes. And so maybe that will be a new niche, but I really think that people who go on mission trips really need to be careful that they give the patients the respect and proper care that they deserve. I've noticed sometimes people go with a bit of an experimental attitude or do things that they wouldn't do at home in a way they wouldn't at home, which is really, really unkind. So I think that when people do mission trips, it's a beautiful thing if they treat the patient with the respect that they deserve.
Oh, 100%. It honestly shocks me and hurts my heart that people wouldn't just automatically do that. But
it's amazing.
Yeah. I went on it wasn't specifically a dental missions trip to Thailand after the tsunami in 2004, 3. I forget what year it was. Unfortunately, of course, all of the places that we could have stayed, like normal low-end hotels, whatever, were destroyed. So we actually got to stay at this like 5-star resort while we were there, but which was amazing because it was summertime in Thailand where, humidity was insanely high and we were treated to this wonderful 5-star cuisine every day. But the things that you see on medical missions trips or any missions trip, it humbles you and gives you a perspective of what the rest of the world is living like. So,
okay, Amanda, I've known you for years. I didn't know you were ever on a mission trip.
Multiple. So, okay,
you're like a secret. I'm like, oh my gosh, Amanda.
I was saving that for our next road trip, Joffrey. So I did, with my church, I did a lot of medical missions trips. I went to Thailand, was the first one. I was only there for like a week and a half, but it was after the tsunami. That was my first missions trip. And then we would go to Peru every summer, and we would go for about a month, and we would do some medical stuff. So it was mostly a youth focused trip, but we would help treat lice. I got to irrigate some ears. I did some water sanitation and basic hygiene because I was still in hygiene school. I got to work with one of our veterinarians that was in our church, but he was able to, treat the same, if you will. I mean, we're in the very hardcore jungles of Peru, head shrinkers, shipibos, the whole thing. And then I did get to go to Siberia on a medical missions trip as well with the Christian Medical and Dental Association. Gosh, a long, long time ago. And we got to do, that was my first medical missions trip where I was the only dental professional. And they hooked me up with an ultrasonic and a power converter and everything that I had to take, carry on my backpack internationally and get checked at every possible checkpoint to make sure I wasn't carrying a bomb on my back. Anyway, all the way through Siberia, through planes, trains, and automobiles. But yeah, we did Bedouin communities. We served Bedouin communities in the Geographic Center of Asia. So
wow. I don't know anything about Siberia. When I think Siberia, I just think cold.
It's so because it's so landlocked, they can have extreme weather changes. So the summers can be like 120 and winters can be like -60.
Wow.
So it's extreme. It's both of those things just because it is so landlocked. But yeah, so where I was the southernmost tip of Siberia. So between like Mongolia, not Krasnoyarsk, Kazakhstan, I was just like right there nestled in the mountains. And basically it's a little region. The southernmost tip of it is called Tuva. And they speak Russian, but they also speak Tuvan, their native language. And so they're more your native people than your typical Russian-looking people. And they're just not served by the government, if you will, with socialized medicine. So it was interesting. Obviously, my medical counterparts that were with us, everybody that came into our clinic, everybody knew what they had. They would say, oh yeah, I've got diabetes. I've got high blood pressure. I've got this, that, and the other. So diagnostics were free, but if you wanted to treat your conditions, you had to pay for that yourself. So that's kind of how socialized medicine was working for them. So versus nobody ever had dental care. So to be honest, I don't remember seeing a lot of decay because I don't recall seeing any sort of convenience stores or grocery stores. A lot of people smoked just due to the climate, I think. So there was a lot of periodontal disease, but not so much decay. And obviously I wasn't taking x-rays. I was doing cold sterile. So I was pretty limited on what I could do and how much I could do. But and obviously I didn't have suction either. So it was kind of
yeah, what a cool experience. I can't believe I didn't know that about you.
Well,
anyway. You need to have another podcast, Uncovering the Secrets of Amanda Hale.
Yes.
We could. Just kidding.
I know.
I could share. Hold on. This is my favorite toothpaste I brought back from Peru. It's a chicha morada flavor. It's like a purple corn flavor. I don't even know how old this stuff is. Oh gosh, it's still, I didn't realize I opened it, but anyway.
Don't use it, Amanda. Let it be decoration.
Well, I'm feeling jealous. I haven't gone on a mission trip. I feel like I'm missing out now. And so if anyone's listening and they're also feeling like they're missing out, I just want to highlight that you can still give back and help the underserved communities at home. So, I mean, at post-graduation, I volunteered often at Donated Dental. I donated my Fridays to them. So you don't have to go on these elaborate, cool trips like Amanda has to give back.
Yeah,
So if
and
you're feeling
something
jealous,
really, mhm. And you can even do it in your own office. Something cool that we did this year, we donated 20 free appointments to celebrate our 20-year anniversary of the office being open. So just we put on social media, hey, if you need dental care, you want to come, send us a message, and 20 people, boom, done, free. Everybody in the staff wanted to do it, and we just interspersed it in between our paid clients, so it wasn't a big to-do. Last year we did 2 days where we just opened the office only for that, and that was awesome too. So it doesn't have to be, far away. We can help people in our own communities as well.
No, I think there's so much more value. Well, there's value no matter where you go, no matter how far you go, but I think there's a lot of power to be had when you get to be in your own community and have that outreach. Like I'm a big fan of like living and working in my community. I live in a smaller place. I'm 4 minutes from my office. My FedEx guy at work is my FedEx guy at my house. Like I love that so much. So being able to have that opportunity to reach out to our patients and have that impact within your own communities, I think is huge. So
yeah.
But I also have a passport. Just kidding.
a very colorful one.
It's inspired, honestly. But all right, Olivia. Before we do our closing questions, what other aspirations do you have for your future endeavors?
I'm going to be like Joffrey. I'm in my long-term goals. I want to teach at big dental conferences.
Oh.
It's not my goal this year because this year I just want to frolic. But maybe maybe in coming years, I'm really interested in taking my passions and bringing them to a larger stage. So that's my further aspirations. And then when I go back, from time to time, I want to just pop in and see some of my favorite patients at my office as well. I don't want to give up clinical all the way, but definitely for the rest of this year, I'll be frolicking, but maybe next year I'll be popping back in the office as well.
I think you will be a wonderful speaker, Olivia, because you're so collected and thoughtful on your words. So I think you will be fantastic at it. I have no doubt.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I agree. I absolutely agree. All right, Olivia, we love closing these episodes with our famous questions for all the hygienists. And so I'll ask the first one. What do you wish you would have learned in school that took you years to learn as a hygienist?
Took me way too long to figure out how to fix my chair when something was wrong or how to maintain my chair properly. So I really wish they taught that. It seems like you should know. So yeah, I remember being really frustrated many times. My chair stopped working. I don't know what to do. The patient's there. I'm sweating, trying to figure it out. So I wish I understood equipment maintenance and just basic stuff. You still got to get your Henry Schein guy in there.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And not all dental chairs are, I don't want to say created equal. Sorry, I have a broken chair right now. And so it swivels and is not stable. And our previous doctor kept jerking it around too much. And he actually managed to shear some bolts off. Yes. So, and the company that makes the chairs, Pelton and Crane, I believe it is, no longer in business.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is the good thing about having a hygiene manager. I would never let that fly. You can't be working with the broken chair. That would be top priority for me, for your comfort, your patient's comfort. Things like that are so important. So we're going to call your manager.
Yeah, no. We had Henry Schein came out to look at it. So I was like, it's uncomfortable for me, but our oral surgeon is working on that chair. That's not okay. So,
yeah. I hope it gets fixed soon.
I do too. Okay. What piece of advice do you wish you could go back and give yourself as a new graduate?
I would teach myself to stand up for myself when things are not right in the office. I would speak up if a dentist tried to touch me or say something inappropriate. I would speak up about OSHA violations. I would ask for raises. I would just speak up. I would speak up. So I would teach myself not to shrink back and not to be scared to share what I know.
Bravo. Bravo, Olivia.
I love it. Olivia, you are the absolute sweetest. I am so glad you carved out some time for us.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed talking to you guys and seeing all that Hygiene Elevated is doing. I'm wearing my Hygiene Influencer shirt everywhere I go.
Yay! Take some pictures and tag us.
Yeah. So I thank you guys for all you guys are doing for the profession and our community. And keep it up. We'll all keep growing together, right? No, elevating together.
Yes.
Thank you for that,
Thank
branding.
you so much, Olivia.